All right, everyone, welcome to our TokiTV, our every Sunday gathering for Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut. Thank you so much for being with us. People know what to do. They're in the comments, typing in your name and where you're from. We really do appreciate that. Well, we have a lot of cool people on the screen. Everybody, let's just go around super quick and say hello, Deb Cruz. That's all she's got. Alejandro.
I'm here for Toki.
Thank you. And we have Susan and Howard with us.
We're here for Toki too.
Still here, sure. Still here after all these years. We're ready.
Awesome. Dr. Giles.
Hi, yeah, ditto here for to support all of you and to support Toki getting home.
Awesome, awesome. We'll get to Charles in just a little bit, but Deborah, how are you?
So happy, listening, ears on, mouth is zipped.
Awesome. And Christina.
Happy to be here. Want to hear everything we have to hear from Charles. Woo!
And we went around this way so that I can stop here with Raynell. Raynell is going to go ahead and get us in the space for our meeting today. So Sk'aliCh'elh, turn it over to you.
Creator, we have so much to be. Oh gosh, there's so much to feel blessed and to give gratitude to that has happened this week. First of all, Haishka to our ancestors and our ancient ones that have cleared the path for Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut to come home. Haishka for the blessings of the friends of Toki that have assembled a new team, including Jim Irsay, Mayor Cava, Commissioner Regalado, and Eduardo Elbar, Charles Vinick, and the rest of the vet team, the enrichment team, the MSQ staff that continue to take care of her. Our loved one is doing well. Medically, spiritually, she's doing well. And we're grateful for these blessings. We also want to give gratitude to all the advocates around the world for decades who have loved and supported our relative, Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut, and who continue to support her with prayer, loves, and blessings. So with this, we raise our hands in love and respect. Oh, Siam, Haishka Siam.
Thank you so much. For those of you, everybody knows, but for those of you that don't know, there was a press conference this week on Thursday, and I'm going to show you a brief clip of that, of some super powerful words from Charles Vinick. before we turn the show over to him. So go ahead and watch this with me.
Historic day. I mean, everyone has talked about the collaboration, and that's what it is. It is an absolutely unique collaboration. And each time we get to know one another a little better, it's stronger. And we're more surprised by how we all collaborate, communicate, and respect one another. Without that, none of this happens. And it's all about a whale. And that's all that matters. It's to win. And every time I talk about Keiko, same thing happens. I spent 4 years with Keiko, taking him back to Iceland, with a team of people that would do far more than I did. And here, I work with a team of people that know far more than I do. I get to help. And it's about a whale. And that's what we have to remember every step of the way, is everything we do is for her. We don't matter in the process. We're facilitators for her. And she teaches us how to do that better. And so it's a rare privilege to get to do this work. And who gets to do this stuff? We do. And how lucky can we be to be able to do this work? So it's a very special day. We got a huge number of days to come. There are going to be incredible challenges. But as Pridham said, we're up to the task. And we're up to the task together. And without Eduardo's leadership, without the mayor's leadership, Councilwoman Woodard-Lotto, without Jim coming, and without the incredible leadership of Pridham, this wouldn't happen. But the one that makes it happen is Lily Dunn. So I'm really pleased to be here and pleased to be part of the rest of the journey. Thank you.
Charles, thank you so much for being with us today. I'm going to go ahead and switch our screen here. How are you feeling after this week?
Well, as you'll hear, my voice is long gone. So I apologize for that. I've obviously been doing a whole lot of interviews and the like, so my apologies for how I sound. And my background looks like I'm in a cell, so I'm even sorry about that. But I'm actually in Nova Scotia today, and that's the nature of the room I'm in. But I'm really pleased to be here. Obviously, it's been a bit of time since I've been able to join you on a Sunday like this. And part of it has been because it's been so difficult to share all the steps that have taken to get us to this point. But I think we're now at a point where we can share everything. And so we can be doing these kind of conversations and having an open dialogue about everything that we need to do going forward in ways that we haven't been able to do, just to be able to have the confidential conversations that have been needed to negotiate to get us to this point. So I think those days are past, and we can have these kind of dialogues all the time. But before launching into the questions many people have and the like, what I really also want to say is that, without all of you, and particularly without Ken, and most particularly what Howard and Susan have done all these years, we wouldn't be here today. This just happens to be the day at which things have fallen into place in ways they didn't fall into place before. But without everything that came before, this day and these days wouldn't have happened. So I think that's really what we have to all be grateful for, is how so many of you, and particularly, I always want to say it about Howard and Susan, how they have carried this forward for so many years that enable this to occur. And so, yeah, I'm the guy who's talking to you today because I'm in the center of it. But as I said that day, I'm just happy to be there. And I'm glad I am. And I'm grateful to spend every day doing this that I can. But it's all of you who have made this happen, not me and not Pridham, and not Jim and not Eduardo, even though we're the folks who are dealing with it on a day-to-day basis now. So I think, I raise my hands to all of you, and certainly to Raynell and to the Lummi, but particularly to those that have been at this for so many years. And I thank you for that.
Thanks, Charles. What there's so much. There's so much, and you're right. There's going to be a lot of questions, and we're going to do our best. So those of you who are typing in your questions, please be thoughtful of them and try to do one comment. So Deb Cruz isn't having to sort through a bazillion comments from the same person. You mentioned that, some more conversations, being able to come and talk to us, have more open dialogue is one of the things that changed. What else do you feel was it? What does this agreement mean? If there's a way you can summarize before Thursday and now, what does this agreement mean?
Well, first of all, this is truly a unique collaboration. I mean, how often do you ever find a marine park owner and CEO who has some 33 parks with dolphins around the world joining hands in a partnership with, for lack of a better term, many of us who have worked in animal rights, who have worked in environmental stewardship, all the areas that often would have conflict with someone in this captivity industry. We don't have that conflict in this collaboration. Eduardo Albor has really stood up since the first day he bought this park and said, first, we can bring in independent veterinarians, and they can report monthly, publicly, and more often if we need to, about the health and welfare of Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut, of Toki, of Lolita, whatever name you use. That itself was a unique change. And then out of that came a collaboration with Pritam, primarily, somewhat also with myself. And that came from mutual respect and agreeing that we could focus on the things we agree on and not even talk about the things that we don't. And to me, that's a real lesson, not only for this work with Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut, but also for all the potential work we may do to move whales into sanctuaries. Because we're not going in the dead of night and steal whales. I mean, it just isn't going to happen. We're not going to end up moving whales to sanctuaries by being in conflict with the people who have custody of them. We need to find ways to replicate this kind of consultation, this kind of collaboration. And it only happens if we can communicate. And I think so often we've not been able to do that, not only in this work, but frankly, looking at almost anything going on in the world today, we're getting torn apart. This is an example, and I think she becomes a symbol for how we need to communicate with one another. And it's out of that I think she is so much larger than life, because she teaches us this every day. So for me, that's a lot of what this is about. And I'm just stoked that we're making this progress. And I gotta tell you, it is not going to be easy. It is not a clear path. This has been a sine curve of ups and downs almost on a daily basis to get here. And I don't expect that to change. We're going to have hurdles, but we are closer today, and we have a clear path and an agreement. Coming back to your question, Annette, we have an agreement that allows Friends of Toki. We've gone back and forth. Jim wants us to use Friends of Lolita, could be Friends of Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut, doesn't matter. We're all friends. And so it allows the Friends organization to have responsibility for the day-to-day care of Toki in the whale stadium going forward. And it allows us to start the process of negotiating with federal authorities, state authorities, all the regulatory agencies, and move forward on creating a home for her back in her home waters. It allows us to represent those who have custody for her, the Dolphin Company, Miami Seaquarium, in these discussions. It doesn't mean they're not a part of them. They are central to them, but we are able to act as an agent working with them hand in hand, keeping them fully informed of every step of the way. And hopefully Eduardo joins us in the meetings, but those have already begun. We have appointments scheduled with National Marine Fisheries Service. We have discussions with the U.S. Department of Agriculture already going on. We're already in discussion with certain aspects and certain elements within the state of Washington, and more to come. So all of that can now be more directly underway. And because of the support that we have from Jim Irsay, we can do a lot of this work simultaneously rather than sequentially. So the question will surely come up, what's the timeline? I don't have a crystal ball, but we are able to do it expeditiously because of the financial support that's been committed and the nature of the people who are part of the team, who frankly have the political contacts to enable us to work through things in ways we might otherwise not be able to do. So I'm just tremendously optimistic that we can move this forward in a timeline that frankly should make what we've gone through the Whale Sanctuary Project look archaic because of the forces that have come together with and for her.
Thanks. And that is one of the biggest, combing through the bazillion comments and posts all over social media since Thursday. The timeline's a big one. So on the press release that was released, says 18 to 24 months. And then there was some conversation of 6 to 9 and then maybe 9 to 12. I think you just kind of said that, but do you want to address that again? Because that is one of the big things going around is what's with the discrepancy. And I know you don't have a crystal ball like you just said, but.
Well, I think every one of those statements is true and every one is inaccurate because when you hear each person who's involved in this and each one of you, each time any one of us talks about it, we bring our own perception into the answer. And we answer it sometimes with hope, sometimes with fact, and more often with none of us knowing exactly what's coming. So I don't think 6 to 8 months is realistic, but I certainly have heard it from a number of people. I don't think 18 to 24 months has to be realistic either. I think we have an opportunity to do this in approximately a year. But I am guessing just like every one of those other people, because until we sit down and know precisely what the regulatory process is for this, no one of us can give an honest answer to that. So what is the regulatory process for her? Well, frankly, nobody knows. Why? Because she predates the adoption of the Marine Mammal Protection Act in the US. So she's a pre-act animal. So that law does not actually apply to her. What law does? The Animal Welfare Act is what applies to her. But the Animal Welfare Act doesn't speak to this situation precisely because there's never been this situation brought before it. The Animal Welfare Act is designed to protect marine mammals and other animals. Well, we think we're protecting her. Some other people might say we're jeopardizing her life by considering this. And that puts the agency in a pretty difficult spot to figure it out. So we need to sit down with the agency and really ask for their help for her, rather than thinking about, okay, what are all the barriers to doing anything? Rather, what are all the ways we can do something? So it becomes a different kind of a discussion because of her. And I do think we want to treat her as the unique animal she is. And I think that's also the way every other animal should be treated, as the individuals they are. so that there aren't generalizations that I'm able to give, or frankly, anyone else is able to give about how we go forward. So I go back to what I said earlier. We have now the resources, the expertise, the talent, and all of you to do this expeditiously. And that's the best answer I can give to what the timeline will be. Everyone who's working on this is giving it 24/7, and that's what it deserves.
Awesome. Thanks, Charles. You mentioned the permits. You mentioned the agencies having you have some appointments set up. Can you walk us through that? Like, have the permits been started, or are these preliminary talk appointments, or can you walk us through the agencies? Like, give us an idea of what this is, what your guys' game plan is, if you can.
What I'd rather do is give you an analogy, because I do think we want to maintain opening the conversations with the agencies in a way that doesn't predispose us or them to what the answers should be. So let me give you an analogy. In October, Toki was really sick, and she was being given antibiotics by injection. And for her to receive an antibiotic by injection, she has to present her tail flukes. She has to stay stationary for the number of injections she might need in a given day. That's really difficult for her. In the Miami Sea Aquarium, she hasn't ever been in a stretcher, in a sling. So they don't have a medical lift for her or anything like that. So she would have to come up on the slide out between pool A and pool B, present her tail flukes, and be given a shot. If she was uncomfortable, what we had to do in order to do that was lower the water in the pool so that she was neutrally buoyant. But our team of, at the time it was Jeff, Mike, Pete, a number of our folks could get in the water with her, and they could stand in that level of water, be able to control her enough and keep her comfortable enough so the vets could give her these injections. That was not a sustainable approach for the length of time she would need these injections and this antibiotic. So it was clear we needed an oral antibiotic, which is called ferropenem. You've seen that in the monthly vet reports. But ferropenem is not approved in the US for distribution to people or animals. So it's produced in Japan and a few other countries. We needed to get this medication, this antibiotic, from Japan. Well, how do you do that if it's not approved by the FDA? Well, you call the State Department, if you have contacts in the State Department, and try to get them to intercede with the FDA and get compassionate authorization to import the drug specifically for her. Well, we did that. Well, it wasn't easy, and there was no clear path to the company in Japan. And I don't speak Japanese nor write it particularly well. So we got the Consul General of Japan in Miami to communicate with the company in Japan for the authorization from the FDA. It took a little while, but we got the first number of boxes of it. Then at the end of the year, the Japanese company gave us a donation of 17,000 tablets because they were moved by what we were doing.
Wow.
And now the FDA has authorized us to continue to import it solely for her this year as well. So I use that as an analogy, not only because it's a great recommendation of this company and the State Department, the FDA, the General Counsel of Japan, and everybody else who was involved, but it's an analogy of how we will have to work and how we can work with these other agencies. And that's what this takes. And that's why it's so incredible that these people have come together. I mean, certainly Jim Irsay is bringing funding, but equally important he has just fallen in love with Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut. And he is prepared to use contacts he has to help this process along. Pritam Singh, who is the chairman and CEO of Sea Shepherd, but is also a real estate developer in his earlier life all through Florida, has all these contacts. I've got a few contacts in Washington myself over the years and the like. We're able to bring this all together for her. Now we need the equal help, Washington State, from Giles and all of you who know people who can help us move forward there. That's what this takes going forward. And we want to put all of these collaborations together to make it work.
I love that analogy because there are so many unknowns, but I hear what you're saying is this team has what it takes to whatever hoops are placed there, you guys will get through them. And just, I'm reading.
Not us guys, not us guys, we
Everyone.
guys, all of
Yeah.
us.
Thank you for saying that. I'm reading the comments and just so much gratitude for everything that you guys have done, Friends of Toki, up to this point. I mean, and I'm always harping on, man, you guys got the vet, so you have the medical and the science, and you have the business aspect of it and knowing, how to navigate that. And then we have the cultural piece with Sk'aliCh'elh going in and sharing that piece of who she is, having all of those in one team is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I'm just in awe of that and to be part of it in any way that we can, because this is all for her. And you said that, Charles. I say I'm always harping on that. Like, this is about her. This is about her. That really showed through on Thursday from every single person that spoke from their heart. It is about her. I know I'll just speak for some of us advocates. We can get a little nuts sometimes because we know what we want to happen, right? But she has to be first. And just like you guys did with the medication, I mean, her needs have to be met first. She's driving this process. And I truly believe that she's gonna determine the timeline, not us, and not in our hopes and whatever we want, but she's gonna do that. There's a lot of technical pieces and go ahead.
Yeah, she shows us every day what's possible. And that's really, you visit her, and I think Pritam spoke to this on Thursday a bit as well. You visit her, you have the opportunity, which I luckily have had, to spend time with her. And she doesn't look like she's suffering. She shows, that she comes over and she is a strong, vibrant individual with an incredible will to live. And that's what she has shown us every time she's had a problem over all of these years. So what can she do? What is she capable of? None of us know. So I will continue to say that this first step has to be about providing her with a sanctuary, a netted enclosure with a bay pen inside, a medical lift, 24/7 care, 24/7 veterinarians, the quality care she's receiving now, but in a natural environment, much more space, able to chase birds, have a sandy bottom, all the things that nature can give her. Can it go beyond that? Maybe, but she'll be the one who will show us what's the future. But I have to say, if we were saying today, tomorrow we're releasing her to the open ocean, we would not get to do that.
Right.
There isn't a regulatory agency at the state level or the federal level that possibly could approve that today. But let's give her the best life we can and let her show us over time what the next steps are, just as she's shown us that this is the step to take today. And I think that's a focus that's important. Now, it wouldn't happen without the advocates. So the advocates are necessary. I don't know how to do that. I mean, when I was in college, we were, and I tell this story for a reason. We were all protesting the Vietnam War. And it was about keeping Dow Chemical off the campuses, recruiting kids to go to work for Dow Chemical. And so everyone wanted to go on, like, almost every campus went on strike about that. Well, on my campus, we were talking about going on strike. And like the person I am, I got up and said, well, wait a minute. If we're complaining about the administration, if we go on strike, that doesn't do anything to the administration. It's only about our classes. So why don't every one of us overpay our bills by $1 and ask for a refund? That'll really screw with the administration. And everybody thought that was a great idea, and then voted to go on strike. What they wanted to do anyway. So I tell that because then you know who I am. I'm going to continue to do the work that I know how to do, which is moving through these processes kind of methodically, day to day, one step in front of the other. And I know that's not what all of you want to see me do. And that's not where a lot of the work is. It's in doing the advocacy work. And you need to keep doing that. And together we'll get it all done.
Appreciate that. That was one of the things is, it's a little bit later in my list, but since we're kind of on that, how can people be helpful when we want to support? I say we because we on this screen, and I know many people in our groups for sure are on board with this process, supporting Friends of Toki. And how can we support you guys? What are some things we can do besides what we're doing? And, because we really talk about positivity and just holding her up and continuing to meet and share information. What else can we do? Is there anything else you can think of that we can do that we help?
There are a zillion things we can all do, and we'll be asking. But first of all, what we have to do is trust one another. We have to understand at this point, we've reached the point where things are moving in the way they need to move. And none of us could have said that this way a month ago. There was a lot going on for the last year, but none of us could have said that. Now we can. And so I think going forward, we need to trust the process. We need to trust one another that everything is being done. And we need to know more about what resources any one of us can bring to the task. And as we know that, we can call upon one another to access those resources, whether they be people or equipment or ideas or concepts. But I think the trust is the key item, because there will be times where we can't necessarily share verbatim what's gone on in any meeting. And that's the nature of negotiation. That's the nature of dealing in a political environment and a practical construction environment and all the rest. But we need to believe that we're all doing everything we can and doing it for her, and in some ways not second guessing one another every step of the way. There'll be a time for that. And, there will be times where all of you will be frustrated with me and frustrated that things aren't happening as quickly as they can. And that will be true. But we need to trust that we're doing the best we can and that we are bringing every possible resource to bear to move this forward. And there will be times where there'll be setbacks, but we'll work through them together. And where you have questions, ask them. If I can answer them, if Pritam can answer them, if Raynell can answer them, we will. And if we can't, we'll say we can't. You'll be frustrated and you'll beat on me, and that's okay.
No, and here's why some people might, but I think that if there are things that can't be shared because it's in the best interest of her for them not to be shared, I don't know why that did that. Then, that's, to me, sorry, our thing got all switched up because Giles fell off, but she'll come back on. For me, I honor that. because we are putting our trust in this process. We are putting our trust in Friends of Toki to move this forward. It's a great group. So, I know if we're not getting information, we all want to know. That's just how we are. But if it's in her best interest for it not to be shared, I get it. I 100% get it. And we can do our best to let people know and keep saying that, sometimes that might be in the best interest. The transparency piece, I do want to ask, do you think that now, you said, now we could probably have more dialogue. Is there any conversation about sharing, maybe, I know there's the enrichment that's going to have to be happening. Can you tell us a little bit about what does that look like? She's in still water, right? So she's got to get used to currents and all that. And, the feeding, we all know about that. What other things are being planned for her enrichment?
Well, first of all, we have quite a team of enrichment people who have been working together, developing plans. Jeff Foster, Katie Foster, Diana Reese, who is a well-known researcher in this field, is part of this, and a number of others. Brittany Nolans, who has worked with Corky for many years at SeaWorld, is part of that team, as well as all the trainers who are on site. So what's the nature of enrichment? How did Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut get enrichment over all these years? And some of us may be sensitive to how that occurred. Well, frankly, it was the shows that she did twice a year. Let me not take that call. Actually, hold on for a moment. Let me just I'm on this TokiTV thing. Can I call you back?
I'll mute him for now.
Pritam and I talk 3 times a day. Anyway, so how did she get enrichment? The enrichment she received was from people, the people who were in the stadium, the kids who were cheering and who were moving around as she did her show behaviors. That has been the nature of enrichment that she has had. And so how does that occur? It occurs at the request of her trainers to do behaviors, and then the audience responds, and she responds to that response, because the enriching part of her life, whether we think that's good or bad, has been from people. That's been the nature of her life for 50 years. So today, because she's no longer part of the exhibit license of the Miami Aquarium, and because of the construction issues, the nature of the stadium, which is a condemned building, she no longer does shows. So she doesn't get that enrichment any longer, whether we like that type of enrichment or not. She's not getting it. So we need, as trainers, and I just use we because I'm messing around with them all the time, we need to provide that kind of enrichment to her. And now as we look ahead to an environment which will be natural and where she has some autonomy in deciding how she spends her time, the enrichment program is designed to give her more autonomy in what she chooses to do. So how do you do that? Well, there are toys that she likes. She happens to like an old wetsuit that's a red wetsuit that she plays with in the water. Now, oh my God, it's a wetsuit. This is just strange things. But she's had it for years. Well, you give her other toys that she can choose to use. Some of them have rough surfaces, so she can scratch her body with them if she chooses to do so. She has hoses in different parts of the tank that she can go and have the water spraying on parts of her body where she likes the feeling of that water. We can introduce kelp into the environment so she gets used to seeing, well, there's kelp that she will find in the natural environment when she moves. And there are many other tools like this that give her a choice of how she spends her time, but also are enriching for her, but are provided to her by people who move from different places. She has an area of Pool B that has been called her office, where she has often been fed when she's not fed on the platform in the middle of the two pools. Well, she goes there automatically because she knows food is there. But if you move the feeding stations around and you encourage her with your voice and with your way of interacting with her in other areas, she uses more of the pool and she's spending time. As a result, she'll do fast swims. And when she does a fast swim around A and B pool, she can make that water move like nothing you've ever seen. And, you know, if you're standing by, you're going to get soaked. She goes up to one of the trainers, will take a mouthful of water and just douse them with it for fun. You want to encourage more and more of those behaviors so that she is choosing what she does and why she does it. And it's not about food all the time. It's about enrichment as well. So those are a layman's description of what trainers know more than I do about, but we want to do more and more of as we move forward over these next months, 6, 8, 9 months, getting her ready for a transport. In addition, you're beginning to have her, you know, she's never been in a stretcher. She's never been in a sling. Well, that's not something you want to introduce on the morning you're doing a transport. You want her going in and out of that transport sling hundreds of times. So she swims in because she chooses to, because it's enriching for her in the way you've introduced it to her. Similarly, that sling is going to have to be lifted by a crane into a box that is your transport box that'll have water in it that allows her to be neutrally buoyant for the time she's in transport. Well, you want to practice that lifting many, many times in advance so that's not stressful. So all of the elements that will come forward to enable this transport going forward are not stressful for her. They're things she knows and is comfortable doing. But today she's not comfortable doing any of those because she's never done them. All of that will be part and parcel of what happens in the stadium between now and transport.
Thanks, Charles. And I know we only have you for a little more than 10 minutes. So I do hope that you come back. And I think that's, the hope that, you know, now with this agreement that you guys could come on here and talk. I mean, we have, you know, 143 people watching live right now. This is where people gather. This is where they want to get this information. So we hope that you can come back. The people's faces, I mean, people are even putting smiley faces in the comments when you're talking about her swimming around and moving the water, like those kind of things, just those daily things. If those could be shared, it just, I think it keeps people's spirits up. It keeps us connected. So I hope that we're able to do more of that. I want to give Giles and Howie and Susan an opportunity to ask any questions that they might have. So I'm going to unmute you guys, and because we do only have Charles for about 10 more minutes this show, but we'll get him back. Go ahead, Howard.
Okay. Well, I think you answered pretty much everything, Charles. I'm always curious 24/7, what's going on in there? How is she doing? What's happening? Is she vocalizing? What do we hear? What do we see? And who are her favorite people? Or not necessarily who, but what are they, how are they relating to her? You know, how are they talking to her? Well, you just described some of that. She'll douse them like a sprinkler, which is great. But you know, just any of that color, any of that flavor of what's going on in there is just wonderful to hear all the time. So, you know, that's not as
one of the things that's happening more and more now is there's a lot of tactile with her. Mike Partica, who is our lead trainer right now, he's the lead of the care team. He and Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut have developed a real relationship, and you can see that when he's in the area and she follows him around and the like. But morally, there's a lot of hands-on tactile engagement with her. And she likes that from all of the trainers, feeling their hands on her in various parts of her body. She responds to that really well. So that's happening. She roughly right now is getting 115 pounds of fish a day, some 30 to 45 liters of gelatin. She gets a lot of gelatin. That gives her a lot of hydration, and she gets ice. She doesn't like the ice as much as she likes the Jello on certain days of the week. And you can see that she'll show you when she doesn't like something. She shakes her head up and down when which is no. You think it's yes, but it's no, and she tells you that. So those are all things that go on a day-to-day basis. You know, this whole issue about why can't we show any pictures? Over time, we hope to be able to show pictures, and because it doesn't make any sense that we can't. Because how will you see that she's healthy if you can't see a picture? Well, the reason why is because she's not on the exhibit license of the Miami Seaquarium from USDA, from APHIS, Animal Plant Health Inspection Service. So any pictures of her in their definition, video or pictures, are exhibitry, which they can't do. So their license is in jeopardy if pictures are taken and distributed. They can be taken, but if they're shown. So certainly we want to work over time to change that, because this isn't for exhibit purposes commercially. It's to show people that she's healthy and well.
Right.
Now, is she over her infection? The answer is no. She still has this chronic infection that the vets cannot identify the root cause of, but she is stable. So you'll see in the vet reports every month, they see she's clinically stable, but that doesn't mean the infection is gone. Why isn't the April or the March medical report on our website yet? Because Charles has been too busy to get it up there. I have to get it up. I'm hopeful it'll get up by morning. I've got to wait for Jim McBain to sign it. He wrote it. He and Stephanie wrote it. Tom Reederson has approved everything that's in it. It's all done. I got to get one more signature from Jim, which he has to send, and he's a little older than me. It takes a little longer, and then we'll get it up there. But it is a stable report. It reads a lot like last month's. Not much has changed, but she is stable, and she's doing well. Giles, what's up?
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Hi,
It's great to
Charles.
see you, Giles.
Thank you. Great to be here, and thank you for that.
She's getting out.
Oh, Giles, you're in and out, Giles. Let's see.
Maybe you need to get closer.
Yeah, sorry, I actually moved to my phone because my computer, the internet here is so bad.
We hear you now.
Okay. I just was saying thank you so much for the very detailed description of where we are, how she's doing, and where we are in the process. I think that is, as Annette was saying, that's something that people, if they don't know, then they feel like they get apart, which is unfortunate. That's human nature, unfortunately. So the extra information is fantastic. I don't really have anything to ask. I just want to say that I'm here to help in any way. I have been from the beginning, and I've always loved the process. Your team has always been such that if you asked a question, you didn't have the answer, you always thought to get the answer, whether it be from, what a net would look like to how do you deal with, excess species in a small area to substrate, just everything. And this really feels like the same, you've brought that same philosophy to this team. It was just, I can't tell you how moving it was for me to see that presentation. I wish Raynell would have been up there. That was a little heartbreaking for me. She deserved to be at that table for sure, as well as Howie. But anyway, that's just a personal note. Other than that, it was just just a really fantastic press conference. And so, no questions at this time, but thanks for asking, and thanks for all.
Not yet.
Good.
Thank you.
Well, as we go forward, I truly look forward to working with all of you. But Giles, I think, could be tremendously helpful, bringing science and the work of science to all of this work we're doing. So it's really important that we all come together and move forward as a team.
Appreciate that. Charles, thank you so much for being willing to come on so soon. I know, I think your voice got better throughout though. So I don't know. But thank you for coming on. And I really do hope that Friends of Toki considers coming on at least once a month, maybe even every other week, just to give us a quick update or or something, just to have people feel connected. You said that if people had something that they can contribute, not opinions, because we all have a lot of them and we can read those on our page and we'll filter them for you. But if anybody really does have something that they feel could really, really contribute to this process, I'll just offer, you can go ahead and message me and I'll make sure I get those. Or there's the info at friendsoftoki.org email as well. But I wouldn't recommend suggest opinions to be sent there, but just if somebody does have, obviously Dr. Giles, you have a wealth of information, and Howard can be super helpful. We all know that. But thank you for coming on. I just want to give everyone an opportunity to say thank you, because we are all so grateful for this last week. I mean, people have been in tears. We'll start with Deborah. I do want to give people the opportunity to say thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Annette was right. I was bawling the whole time watching you guys. The love and sincerity that came from your hearts was beautiful. And so much gratitude, love, and respect. And thank you for all that you guys are doing for her. Her miracle's on the way. Thank you.
Well, I think it's thank you to all of you. It's thank you to all of us. It is us. It's, it doesn't matter who's where in the process. We each do, and we each bring to this what we're able to do. And that's what makes it work. And so I think it's a lesson. We started this discussion with the same way we may conclude it. Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut is an individual, and it is what we're doing is for her. But what she has come to symbolize about a process and about how we should work together is larger than her and larger than any of us. So I think we need to think about it in that context and be able to all continue to work together with what Raynell continues to do, and Raynell's prayers and all of your prayers in each of your own kind of spiritual ways and your spiritual traditions. That's as much a part of this as any other way. And without all of it, none of it happens. So I think that's really what it's all about for me, and what it's all about, I hope, for all of you. And I just want to, keep doing the work. And I'm grateful for every day that I get to, because as I said on Thursday, who the heck gets to do this? It's great fun, and it's wonderful, and it's hard work, but hard work is great fun too.
Awesome. Howard?
Well, yeah. Thank you, Charles. I really appreciate everything you're doing. You say it so well, and you say the words that connect, that bring people in, that share what you know and what can be done, and that unites everybody. And that's a really special role that you're playing, and you're just pitch perfect. I really love to hear everything that you're saying. You're summing it up, and it all revolves around her, around Toki. She is the unifying force of it all. Your analogy with getting the medications out of Japan, their response was not for your gentle tones, I'm sure. It was for Toki. I mean, you smooth the way and introduce and clarify and all that. That's essential. But they're doing it for Toki, and we're all doing it for Toki, and it's just beautiful. And let's keep doing this.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what was apparent to me, was everyone at that table. I mean, what a diverse group of people. What else could have brought them together? And as each person spoke, it became so so apparent that Toki had gotten to them, like she has gotten to each one of us and to so many hundreds and thousands of people that we have seen her change over the decades. And she transforms people. And, who knows, maybe Toki will bring us world peace. She is such an amazing whale. But I want to thank you because we know you've been through this before and you are so good at what you do and who you are and you understand and such a good communicator. And I want to thank you for when you called us Thursday, knowing it was a crazy day for you. Just those talking to you partway through that conversation, it just hit me and all the walls came down that I had put up over these last couple decades when I've gotten my hopes up and they've been dashed. And I got to the point where I just, it's like, no, I'm not going to believe it. I'm not going to believe it. And it was like, suddenly it's happening and I believe
We
it.
can
And
believe it.
yeah, I mean, I could let that into my heart and let those walls down. And I just want to thank you for all you've done, and Toki for bringing together all the people and all the angels and that she has.
Thank you. Charles, I
Just
know you have
keep in mind that, I'm just the guy speaking. And so there's a zillion people behind that are doing all the work. And I'm doing some of it. I'm just one of them. And so it's all. And it's all of you and all of us together. And Annette is right. I have to jump off for another call. And then so I gotta
we're going to talk about
Thank
you
you
after.
very much. I appreciate all of you. And certainly I'm happy to come back whenever invited. So thank you very much.
Well, you're invited. So we'll see you soon. We're gonna sit here and talk about you a little bit more after you leave. All
Thanks
good
very
stuff.
much.
Charles.
Okay.
Giles, I know you were trying to say something to him. I'm sure he'll come back and watch the ending if there's anything you want to add.
No.
Oh.
Giving a thumbs up.
Oh, okay. I thought you were. Wow. I'm so happy that he came on and was able to share that conversation with us. Christina, I'm sorry you didn't get to say anything. And Alejandro, but
Don't worry. It's okay. Don't worry. Yeah.
last time we had Charles on, poor thing, we kept him for an hour and 45 minutes. And so it's probably why he was like, I got to go at this time. Just what a week, you guys. It's just, what a week. And I agree with Giles, Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut. I wish, I'm glad you were up there with everyone, at the end, but I would have loved to hear from you from the conference. But the fact that you were there and sharing that space with ancestors and bringing that component to that conversation, is there anything you want to share with us about that?
Well, it's just a real quick occurrence that happened the morning of the press conference. It was bright and sunny. I'd gone on my balcony. I faced Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut. I prayed with her to let her know this is her day. And we had a good conversation, her and I, and a good prayer. And then I went in to get ready. And then pretty soon the sky darkened and the rain fell so hard for hours. It stayed dark and just the rain. I went back on my balcony and I raised my hands to ancestors and to our late Chief Salik. I'm like, oh, Haishka, for letting me know you're here. Haishka, for letting Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut know you're here. And what was said is they wanted her to know what it feels like to be at home, the coolness, the moisture. They're telling her it's real, it's happening for her, that it's now on her to be ready to go. And it rained, it still rained. Going into the press conference, it rained and rained, and it was just so wonderful because it was them letting her and I know, you're not alone, this is real, we're here.
Thank you for sharing that. I wasn't in the room, but I felt it. I felt it watching it and feeling Deborah's tears because I'm watching her, because we went live, we're in the background, but just, and Giles was there with me and Deborah and Howard and Alejandro, we know you were there.
Yeah, I know you get jealous. I know I can feel it. I can feel it. You get jealous.
No, because here's what's true about it though.
No, it's just
with you being there and with Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut being there.
In a good way, I'd say.
And watching with Deborah and Howard and Giles, we were there.
Yeah.
We were there with you guys. And so just thank you because Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut, you really do bring that connection of her to us. So just, thank you. And just echo again what Giles said. And, Giles is texting me too, like, wish Raynell was up there, and I'm like, but you were there and you brought that peace and you were such a powerful presence. So just our hands up to you for that, because you do bring that and share that with all of us. And we really do appreciate you a lot.
Well, we've said it, all during this show. It wasn't about me. It wasn't about Charles. It wasn't about Jim Mercy. It was about Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut.
Mm-hmm.
And so being there to witness for my people, for the ancestors, for her, that's enough.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all about her. Giles, and we're over our time, but I want to see if Giles wants to say anything before we close, and then we'll check in with Howard too.
No, I'm good. Thank you so much. It was I'm honored to be here. I always am.
You're cutting out, but you were welcome anytime, Giles. I'm sorry that we were having a little bit of technical stuff. You're welcome anytime. Howard and Susan.
Well, I just, I am thrilled to be here. And I am very aware of this as part of what we're talking about. This TokiTV, us, and everyone that we connect with, and everyone who is spending time with Toki and being with Toki, interacting, showing her love and affection and respect, and helping her days be more enjoyable are part of what we're doing right now, and it's just so valuable, and I'm overwhelmed to be a part of it.
Thank you. Alejandro?
Howard said, I'm loved to be part of the TokiTV show. All this campaign to help Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut to go back home. Like I said, we got many people watching us. Just be positive, and keep encouraging everyone to keep supporting this true process. Follow Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut.org.
Awesome. Christina?
I'm just overwhelmed. My heart sings. It's just amazing. The miracle is happening, and I'm just so happy to be here, and so happy that everyone knows that it's all about her. And that just means the world to me, that everyone knows that's what it's about. So I'm just grateful. My heart is full of gratitude. Absolutely.
Deborah?
We love you, Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut. You are the miracle. And when she comes home, everyone in the world is going to know who she is. We love you, Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut. We love you.
Thanks, Deborah. And speaking of singing, Deb Cruz, you want to sing the song?
Don't Stop Believing?
Yeah, do it.
You don't want to hear me sing.
Thanks, Deb Cruz. You're quiet but powerful, and we always appreciate you being on here, holding it down for us. So thanks, Deb Cruz. Everyone, we'll go ahead and close with Shirley Bob's song, the farewell song. It is not goodbye to see you again. And everybody, you guys have a wonderful week, and we'll see you on Thursday for our prayer.
Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut. Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut.